Within the past 70 years, rapid urbanization, cars, the fall of trains, and the return of trains has become a thing. And with the Philippines having the worst traffic above every other country in the world, we became the first country in Southeast Asia to have its own metro line, now called LRT-1. And more notably, the South Cavite Extension that took more than 20 years to finish only 1/3 of its way. So, what is this extension? What's with the incompleteness? And why is it so interesting to talk about? By the end of the 20th century, there were 3 major studies on improving the Philippine public transport infrastructure throughout the first 2 decades of the 21st century. Notably, the Philippine Transport Strategy Study, the Cavite Laguna Urban Development and Environment Project, and most importantly, the Metro Manila Urban Transport Improvement Project to improve its railways at the time. Initially, this planned to become a south extension of the PNR to pass through the Manila Port and Ninoy Aquino International Airport for both freight and passenger services. This later became MRT Line 6, starting from Baclaran through the airport, Zapote, and eventually near Dasmariñas and Imus, Cavite. But unfortunately, this was never materialized. Instead, this was later revitalized as part of making it a south extension for LRT-1 to expand towards the same route, but towards Zapote, Bacoor, Cavite first, then later, Imus and Dasmariñas. The project was supposed to start construction by 2005, but subsequently came under scrutiny from transparency concerns in favor of public bidding, which allowed different companies to submit proposals to build their iteration of the extension, to later getting shelved from the lack of funding and other complications. And sadly, the issue of funding an extension line like the Cavite Extension is still a concurring issue till today, considering that in LRT2, they were supposed to build an extension up towards Pier 4 or Divisoria in 2020 and repair about 4 of their trains about last year. But still hasn't happened yet from the lack of funding and lessening funds from the government, which leads to this bridge being left unconstructed. But the project was once again reapproved by then-President Benigno Aquino III in March 2012. Expecting to begin construction in April 2014, it began the public bidding of not only extending the line, but also privatizing the line, considering maintenance-related problems was also an issue. Although it initially failed, a company founded by 2 other big major companies won the privatization plan under the Light Rail Manila Corporation, which began privatizing the line service and maintenance in 2015 at the biggest cost of 64.9 billion pesos, and pretty much began rehabilitating its trains, signals, burning power supply, and teasing its new trains for the extension, while problems of the right-of-way to build it began to pop up, delaying the project even further. And if you ignore the negative side of it, they were able to resolve it, but ended up splitting the project into 3 phases to let it happen, and began constructing 1/3 of the line by the 1st of September of 2019 from Redemptorist to the airport area and Dr. Santos, with coincidentally the Zapote depot built already. LRT-1 was surprisingly able to get more progress in building the line by finishing 60% of the line by August of 2021, while the soon-to-open MRT-7 from Rizal was only able to finish almost 60% of its line by the end of 2021, despite having similar right-of-way issues starting 2 years before the extension began and the pandemic. By March of 2024, the Cavite Extension was 97% complete and performing testing works, while scheduled to begin operations by the latter bare months of the same year. I was able to see a part of the significant progress of the Cavite Extension myself while I was working on my previous video, but it was quite surprising how construction was that fast, unlike other recent Philippine LRT projects I've seen. Henceforth, by mid-late of August of the same year, LRT-1 only closed its services on the weekend to integrate its new systems to the rest of the line, which finally opened by the 16th of November 2024. Well, now that I'm right behind Dr. Santos Station right after its testing phase, it is very surprising how LRT-1 went this far from being an underfunded line to a privatized line that improved its services significantly over the past 10 years, including maintenance, despite the fact that this took about 25 years to get the actual thing going. But what about phase 2 and 3 of the Cavite Extension? Is it complete yet? Although the Zapote depot right behind me is built as phase 2, sadly, right-of-way issues have gotten its way, which led to delaying the rest of the phases by 2026, along with the Dasmariñas and Imus areas to be completed eventually. Thankfully, even when the rest of the project is delayed, LRMC is expected to continue operating the line until 2046, which should be extra enough time to not only complete the depot right behind me, but also the extension itself, along with keeping the line running beautifully as is.